welcome to Cash in the Celebrity Attic. This is the show that looks around the homes of the well-known. We find plenty of items to take to auction to raise funds for their favourite charity. Now today, I'm meeting a writer, actor and TV presenter. He started out as a stuntman working on films and then ended up treading the boards himself. In 1975, his genius created a fantastic musical that also became a film from which there was the most amazing dance craze. And if you're ever trapped in a crystal maze, he's the man to get you out. So, have you figured out who it is yet? Well, today I'm in South London to meet the creator of the Rocky Horror Show and the presenter of the Crystal Maze. He is, of course, Richard O'Brien. Richard is the man who introduced the world to the Time Warp, the popular dance craze that sprang from his hit musical, The Rocky Horror Picture Show. And 2 decades later, he was the MC of the cult Channel 4 quiz, The Crystal Maze. Twice married, he has 3 grown-up children, to whom he's very close. And coming up, Richard jokes about the clutter in his home.
Miss Havisham came round the other day and said the place was a tip.
He's soon pulling the leg of our expert Paul.
You're not just a pretty face, are you?
Well, I'm not either, I'm afraid. I know a bike when I see one.
We find ourselves at one of the most exciting sales ever.
1800, there we are at 1800, 1900. At 1900, 2000 the bid.
It's an emotional ride right up to when the hammer falls. Antiques expert Paul Hayes is with me today. We can't help wondering what's in store.
Be off with you!
Gosh, I hope you don't mean that. Hello.
Hello.
It's us, Lorne and Paul.
Oh, hello.
We're here for the day.
Gosh, you're good looking, aren't you? Come on in.
Oh, right.
I think it's all about you, not me.
Well, I'm standing behind you.
Oh.
Nice to meet you.
Richard's lived in this elegant townhouse in South London for many years, and today helping him look through his mementos is his good friend Rebecca Hardy.
This is the kitchen. Here's Rebecca.
Hello.
Hello.
So you're helping out for the day, are you?
Yes.
So how long have you two known each other?
Yonks.
Ages.
She's my special squeeze.
Is she? Oh, right, OK. And what did you do to qualify for that role in life?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Well, she's got this big house. She's a woman of substance.
He tries to educate me.
Say now.
And the pupil, is better than the master.
Cryptic crosswords.
Yeah.
Right, is that what you're into?
Lady in waiting,
Yeah,
expectant mother.
Oh, yeah, she did it yesterday. And, yeah.
So, obviously you've got a really lovely house here and it's full of things, which is so nice to see now. So much more interesting than this minimalistic stuff. So would you describe yourself as a collector?
Yeah, well, Miss Havisham came round the other day and said the place was a tip.
Well, it's a nice tip anyway. It looks like there's going to be loads to look at. So who are we raising money for today?
We're raising money for the Royal Manchester Children's Hospital. They've moved into new premises. And this money that we raise today will go directly towards the scanner.
And have you got a figure in mind?
I would like us to raise at least £5,000 and hopefully not get up somewhere near 8 or 10, would be cool.
Really?
And over to you, Paul.
No pressure there, then. That sounds great.
And have either of you ever been to auction before?
Yeah, I've got, I think, as Richard said, a house in the Cotswolds, so we go to auctions to get little bits of furniture for that.
Right, OK. So open-ended to what we're going to raise today, but obviously several thousand. Okay. So I don't know whether are you happy to carry on looking down here?
Yeah, I will.
OK,
I think there's quite a bit of stuff.
Well, there certainly is, yeah, quite. And Richard, where would you like us to start?
Come on upstairs
Okay.
with me.
OK.
Almost all the rooms reflect his many and varied tastes. For instance, his breathtaking musical loo is decorated from floor to ceiling with everything from ukuleles to violins. And let's not forget his beautiful Mercedes car, which takes pride of place outside. He's a man used to travelling in style, although I don't expect this will be heading to auction.
This is my humble abode.
Wow, I love the way this is decorated.
Well, it's hardly decorated, thrown together.
Well, it's thrown together beautifully.
It's cluttered. We should be able to find something here, though, shouldn't we? But I do have this guitar.
Wow.
I bought this guitar because Elvis Presley played a guitar this shape in Loving You. I don't know if you remember the movie. And he was dressed in cream and scarlet cowboy suit, silk shirt and whatnot.
Hello.
He looked gorgeous. And I always remember him looking gorgeous and playing this big guitar. And I thought, I want a guitar like that. This is about 1980, I guess.
Right.
Flat top, Epiphone, jumbo.
Well, you know what, you mentioned the key word there, actually, being the jumbo. This is an oversized guitar, actually. I think you're right, Elvis did have one that almost covered his entire body. It's possibly for censorship reasons. But the idea is that it would the structure actually takes the steel strings. So it's a good sort of resonance, it gives a good loud sound. This one looks like satin wood, which has been inlaid. Epiphone, very famous name. It's a beautifully made guitar. We're looking at the origins, really, of bluegrass, of rock and roll. This is the sort of guitar that people started out with, really. It's very loud, almost a busking guitar.
So what are we talking about for value then, Paul?
If I wasn't here today and I was valuing this guitar in a general auction, I mean, if I said around the £150 mark, but I think with your sort of provenance...
I would like to see that go for £1,000 or 1,500 quid.
Well, let's hope
That's
so.
what I'd like to see. I would expect that we start the bidding at 300 quid.
OK.
Fine.
That's what
Should we say that then?
Yeah, I think we
OK,
should.
let's hope so then.
Cool. Yeah,
Great, I'm
absolutely.
happy with that as well.
Richard has so much packed in here that we'd need more than a day to sort through everything. Luckily, he's already put a lot of thought into which of his collectibles he'd like to part with in aid of a good cause.
So there it is.
Wow,
Gosh.
that is amazing. How long have you had this for?
I've had that probably for about 12 years, I think. I bought it at Christie's, but, you know, if it can save a child's life, I'll let that go.
And can you remember what you paid for it?
Ooh,
Roughly.
I think I paid £500 for it. I think.
Cool, I think that was somewhat of a bargain, don't you?
Absolute bargain, what a cracker. But there was a time you could buy these big Victorian paintings relatively cheaply. People needed a large space to put them, I suppose. Do you know where that is?
That's on Mont Saint-Michel, which is a tidal island off the coast of Normandy.
Gosh. Do you know the artist by any chance? Do you know
This is well, it says down here. It says George Clarkson Stanfield.
Okay.
He was obviously very capable. The draftsmanship's good. All the vanishing points are good, aren't they? And there's an application of paint. I love all the way all these different you get all these different kinds of directions going on, and they all work, don't they?
What I like about it, actually, looking at it very carefully, the top of the church, so the church windows in particular, are faded out, and that gives that wonderful perspective. That looks like it's a lot further away than the building nearest to us, and that's a clever artist, it really is. But they were a family of artists, actually, Clarkson Stanfield. The father was probably the most famous, the northeast painter, marine painter. This is the son, George, looking at late Victorian. But it's a household name, really. It's a very famous artist, and I think that could do very well indeed, actually.
Cool. What sort of price then?
I'd like to see a couple of thousand, really, sort of 1,500,
Oh
2,000.
wow! If we doubled it and got a grand, I would have been happy with that.
Excellent.
Well, if you're happy with £1,000, can we actually put it into the auction with the lowest estimate of 1,000? Because generally speaking, that helps the bidding, doesn't it?
Yeah, that way it attracts the buyers and you get good interest and you get two people who really take a shine to it, and hopefully you can go for a lot more. Let's see how it goes.
Okay. So we've got a couple of very good bits so far. Shall we see whether Rebecca's found anything?
Yeah.
Come on then.
Great.
Rebecca is carefully sorting through the many and varied ornaments that line the shelves of the lounge. Could this small wooden trinket box be suitable for sale? It's Art Nouveau, decorated with mother-of-pearl shell, and it has a pewter lid. An Australian film director presented it to Richard 25 years ago, and at £30 to £50, he's happy for it to go to auction. Richard has another trinket box that he'd like to put forward towards the sale. This one's Mexican, in the shape of a cross and made of metal and glass. He bought it in Malibu about 10 years ago and filled it with dried flowers.
I bought fresh roses, and when they started to go a bit droopy, I turned them upside down, tied them together, and dried them.
Along with the cross, there's also a Mexican book. Richard has said he'll sign them both, and Paul reckons they should fetch £30 to £50.
Start me.
But on the day of the sale, the auctioneer forgets to mention that all-important signature. It makes all the difference to the value.
Kill these people. I take them with my bare hands.
It looks tense. I hope our star keeps his cool. The The treasure hunt at Richard's place is still going strong. Going by Paul's lowest estimates so far, he stands to make £1,360 when the items go before the bidders. If only I could see into the future, I could find out if he makes his target. Pity, but we haven't found a crystal ball yet. Now, obviously, we know you from the Crystal Maze and the Rocky Horror Show, but what I'm really interested in is how did it actually all begin? Where did you start?
I got a job riding horses in movies in 1965. I was born in Cheltenham in Gloucestershire during the war. 1942 I was born, and my family emigrated in 1952. I was 10. And I was so pleased to get away from the grey, totalitarian kind of and post-war rationing and all the rest of it, you know, to New Zealand, where the air was fresh and you ran around in shorts and bare feet, and you know, it was wonderful. And then in '64, I got on a boat and came back to England for a year's working holiday. And I found myself riding in Carry On Cowboy, The Fighting Prince of Donegal, and the original Casino Royale movie in 1965, and looked at the people on the set and thought, I don't want to be a stuntman. I want to be an actor. That's what I want to do.
So, where did you make that break?
I suppose being cast in Gulliver's Travels. I got into Hair. I went from Hair to Jesus Christ Superstar. I left and went home and wrote Rocky Horror.
But you know, the whole concept of the Rocky Horror Show, the fiction, the idea, the story, the music, you know, I mean, how does that all come together?
I love populist themes, and Rocky is full of them. Advertising, rock and roll, B-movies, science fiction movies, romance comics. It's just a collection of all that kind of stuff that I grew up with.
So when you actually wrote this, did you start out thinking, you know, yes, I want this to become what it did become?
No, we just thought we'd have 3 weeks fun and we'd all go home and do something else. The weird thing is that nobody really had to sell it, the idea. We were allowed to make the movie about 18 months after we'd opened the show at a Fringe Theatre event. $1.25 million given to us to go and make a movie which could star all of us. And the director who directed the Fringe Theatre event could direct the movie. It was so unusual. It's kept me alive in many ways. I don't have to apologise for it. I don't have to explain myself. It's allowed me to be my tranny self as well, which is very, very nice, because I was brought up in a much more repressed society than people are today. I hope that I've made the world a little warmer, the climate a little warmer for people like myself.
What do your children make of, you know, your career?
I think they've just put up with me, quite frankly.
Oh, I bet they're very proud of their dad.
I don't know about pride, but they love me to distraction, and I love them to distraction, and that's all that matters.
I'm very keen to find out what the others have been up to in our absence, so should we make sure we can make this money for charity and go and check it out?
Let's go down and see how they're getting on.
Over the years, Richard has described himself in many ways, but I would describe our refreshing host as one of the most generous celebrities we've ever met. There's no stopping the flow of precious mementos he seems willing to part with. He knows exactly what's what amongst all his hoardings. He goes straight to this brooch, which shows the monogram of Butler and Wilson. This company designs flamboyant costume jewellery and accessories, and Paul gives it an estimate of £30 to £50. Confronted with all his years of keepsakes, it's difficult to decide what should go to auction. It's Rebecca who spots the next object worthy of consideration.
Paul, what about this?
Oh, wow, look at that. That's great, isn't it?
I think so.
So where's this been hiding all this time?
This was in his sitting room upstairs.
Right, and do you know what it is?
I think it's a tobacco jar.
That's exactly right. It would keep your tobacco in there nice and moist and damp, away from the strong sunlight, so it kept it at its best, really. And do you know who made it?
Royal Dalton?
Exactly, yes, well done.
There's a mark on the bottom.
All right. But Dalton really are famous for their porcelain figures, the Toby jugs, that sort of thing. But in the Victorian period, they were more famous really for unglazed pottery. They supplied lots of drain pipes, that sort of stuff, utilitarian stuff. But then in about 1880, they were approached by the Lambeth School of Art and they got into business with them and started to encourage local artists to work on pottery, and they produced this wonderful art pottery. And the end result, you have some fantastically well executed items that were relatively cheap at the time, so there's masses of them still around.
Is it unusual, the sort of the raisedness of this?
No, it's done in relief, almost like Wedgwood does. It's been made in little sections, and each section is placed on by hand afterwards, which is very clever, a very intricate design, but the end result is beautiful, isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
It's a multifunctional item.
It's one of my favourite pieces, I think, that we've found so far. I just like it.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, is it something that he's collected then, Dalton, or is it just tobacco jars?
He's got a few tobacco jars. Yeah, I think this is the most beautiful.
Right, OK. And is he willing to let it go, do you think? Is he all right to...?
He's given it the nod. Yeah.
Great. Oh, he's a generous fellow. I mean, do you remind me again how much he paid for it?
He paid £18, or 18 quid, he said.
Wow. Well, I think 18 quid there, I think it's an absolute bargain. You do have to check that these are in good condition. This one is. I mean, if I said now between £70 and £100, I mean, I think that's a bargain for somebody. Gives it a chance at the auction. Do you think that's all right?
I think that's fine. I hope we get more for it, though.
Let's hope so.
Because I think it's beautiful.
Let's hope so. I hope 2 people like it and, you know, it goes for a bit more.
Thankfully, the busy air traffic over Richard's South London home isn't spoiling our day here. I've decided to take a good look through one of the cabinets in the lounge. And in the kitchen, Richard has come across 2 small vases in the shape of hunting dogs. They're Victorian, and he bought them at an antiques fair about 15 years ago. They pull in an estimate of £40 to £60 from Paul. Our host is really getting into the swing of sorting through his collectibles now.
Not Kissinger,
Right.
but this one here.
Oh, right.
I thought
okay.
that's interesting.
I noticed you've got quite a lot of ecclesiastical things around the house. I mean, is that something that you've been interested in? Or?
I find I get a lot of comfort and pleasure from ecclesiastical works. I bought him in a big cardboard box with lots of wooden saints. He was the only one with the paint on.
Right, OK.
And it's interesting, isn't he? He's got these jug ears, taxi drawer ears, they call them in Australia.
Right, OK.
And which is interesting. But I do like the fact that he's still got all this rather garish paint on him, you know.
Well, that's right. It's called polychrome paint. And
Okay.
a lot of this was done in the 18th century, if not a little bit earlier, but I think this one dates from about that sort of period. The whole thing would be carved from wood, obviously hand carved. It's quite a naive charm to it. And then the surface is rubbed with a very thin plaster, and that gives a good base for the paint then to go inside. So it can look like a very thick, sort of cloudy image, if you like. It's not too precise. Lots of these were done in the provinces throughout Europe, really. I mean, my gut feeling, this is actually Italian.
Okay.
Yeah, the Italian colour, this sort of mustard yellow colour, is quite prominent around his tunic and so on, around his robes. So do you know if it represents any particular saint or...?
No, I have no idea.
No. It would help if it was Francis of Assisi or something like
No,
that.
we know it's not, though, don't we? Because he'd be in a brown habit because he was a Franciscan.
Exactly.
Hence the name. Okay.
It'd be all brown.
After the society was named after him.
Okay, well, there is definitely a collector's area for this type of thing. We use a little bit smaller, to be honest with you. This is quite a large example. But they do turn up quite regularly. So, I mean, if I said 60 to 100 to give it a chance, and I think...
Okay.
See how it goes.
Okay.
Does that sound right to you?
Yeah, cool.
Excellent. I think it's very generous of you.
You know, I don't think I've ever seen a home that reflects the personality of its owner quite as much as Richard's. Now, we were talking earlier, obviously, about the Rocky Horror Show, but he had then a completely separate career almost with the Crystal Maze, which became an absolute cult in its own right, didn't it?
It became very popular, didn't it? Strangely, it was doing that show that got me interested in raising funds for children with cancer, because I had the shaved head, and I was getting letters from nurses and families whose children were undergoing chemotherapy, and they'd say, well, you're like the guy on the Crystal Maze, so would I send them a card, which I started to do.
Well, you were quite unique, weren't you? I mean, if you look back, at that time, there weren't any people who had the character that you had and, you know, the unique sort of bald head.
When I first shaved my head in 1975, 76, the only 2 people in the world that we knew were Yul Brynner and Telly Savalas.
Yes.
And I used to get gyp in the streets. People would kind of avoid me, you know, but I liked it. It gave me... getting under the shower and hearing that and feeling that water drumming on the top of your head is wonderful.
So what was it like meeting these children and their families?
It's the strength of the parents, because they have to sit on the bed and hope that their child is going to get better. and they can't show how scared they are or how emotionally upset they are. They have to be absolutely resolute. And of course they've got to go home, they've probably got other children as well that need their love and affection. And you know, and the whole balance and the family is kind of like pulled apart by this. And if we can send a child back to the loving embrace of its family, I can't think anything better.
Now, tell me a little bit more about specifically what you want this money to go towards.
Well, they've built a new hospital, and the charity that I was with decided that we were going to donate a scanner.
So basically any contribution is going to go towards this?
Well, anything we make from what I sell will go directly to that, to help pay off that scanner.
Clearly, Richard is incredibly passionate about his charity, so it's vital we keep up the good work. Now then, what's he found in the wardrobe?
That's from the King's Road, 1968, 69, something like that. It should be in the V&A, actually.
I think it's fantastic. I think girls would like it as well, with leggings and some long boots. Look quite stunning, actually, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
He bought it for £40 from a famous King's Road boutique called Granny Takes a Trip. Paul thinks it could bring in £100 to £150 when it goes before the bidders. Ever the showman, our host has clearly been saving the best item for last, and he's parked it outside to make things easier for us. Surely he's not had a change of heart about the Mercedes.
Come on, this is the pièce de résistance. Look.
Goodness.
I bought this when I was doing Chitty Chitty Bang Bang to get me to the theatre and home, to the Palladium, because of, you know, the traffic and all the rest of it. I could be in the West End in 10 minutes. It's only 8 years old. It cost me £3,500. It's a Honda limited edition, dual exhaust pipes, cafe racer style petrol tank, little bucket seat, little stubby handlebars. It's a beautiful little motorcycle. So I reckon if we get £2,000 for that, I'll be very happy.
I mean, you said you bought it new. I mean, it looks like an old bike.
Retro
look,
retro
right?
styling, yeah.
Okay.
I've never seen another. I used to get stopped by the police. They want to ask me about the bike. And I go, oh, that's not a good idea.
I'll tell you why, because it does look like a racing bike. You probably...
It's fab.
You know, the idea is you wouldn't be able to ride it.
It's a fab little bike, look. I could start it up here. I think that's worth about, well, £3,500 when I bought it new.
OK.
It's only had one owner, and who was that? Oh, me.
Why do you want to part with it? I mean, you just jump straight on it.
Because I can save a child's life. What would I give if it was my child? I give my life. I just think it's beautiful.
Yeah, and I can imagine that there will be a demand for it because it is a limited edition, because it has the racing history. And Honda are often associated with racing cars and the whole racing bikes and so on. And their main emphasis actually was power to weight ratio. The reason why they did lots of small engines was that they made them as light as possible and as powerful as possible.
You're not just a pretty face, are you?
Well, I'm not that either, I'm afraid. But I know a bike when I see one.
So, Paul, what are we going to do with this one?
Well, it's quite a difficult one, actually, isn't it? I think we wouldn't do it justice in a general sale. I think we need to really do our homework on this. We could find a specialist buyer, a specialist auction, someone that really appreciates the bike to give it its best price, its best chance to do well.
Reserve of £2,000 on it, I think. A reserve of £2,000.
sounds
I
okay.
think we should be starting. Otherwise, it's silly, isn't
Yes.
it?
I think you
So,
definitely...
a £2,000 reserve. You'll be delighted to know then that tossing up all the items that we're taking to auction and all the bottom line figures, it comes to £3,660.
At the bottom end of it.
That's
Yes,
the
of course.
bottom end.
That's
yes.
the bottom end.
That's the absolute bottom end.
We're gonna be better than that, aren't we?
We've had it before. We've doubled the amount that people have been looking to
We're
make.
gonna triple
So.
We are.
I love your enthusiasm.
Thanks to Richard's generosity, we're looking forward to some exciting times ahead when his delightful collectibles are sold. There's the jumbo Epiphone guitar, which he signed specially. We're hoping it will make something to the tune of £300. And what about the Victorian oil painting by George Clarkson Stanfield? That's got to be worth at least £1,000, surely. And of course, Richard's limited edition Honda motorcycle. That's going to a specialist sale where, all being well, it should make £2,000 or a bit more. Still to come, Paul asks Richard for tips on some fancy footwork.
Can you teach me that time walk? I've been doing just a few dancing lessons.
I don't think I could.
And who can blame him? Will it be a Rocky Horror Picture Show or just one of the most exciting auctions yet?
1800, there we are at 1800, 1900, at 1,900, 2,000 the bid.
Find out when the final hammer falls.
Your bike, sir.
Now, it's just over a month since we visited Richard O'Brien, and he had some fantastic items that we were going to send to auction, of course. He was looking to raise £5,000 for the Royal Manchester Children's Hospital charity. Richard's limited edition Dream 50 motorbike has been brought here to Bonham's auction house to a specialist motorbike sale. Now, we're here in Kidlington in Oxfordshire, and it really looks at home amongst all these beautiful bikes. Now, all of Richard's other items were sent to John Nicholson auctioneer in Surrey, and Paul was there to help Richard sell them.
Good morning, Richard. How are you?
Oh, hello, Paul.
It's good to see you.
We're selling this today, aren't we?
Exactly, yes.
We're hoping to get big bickies for this.
Yeah, now, technically, I mean, I was hoping that you'd actually auction that one yourself. Do you fancy that?
Well, I was a born entertainer. I love talking about myself and singing, actually. So, yeah, and if I can squeeze another £5 out of anybody sitting here, I'll be more than happy.
You're looking amazing, as usual.
Am I looking cool?
Amazing, but you're
Always
missing
important.
something. Rebecca, where's Rebecca?
Oh, yeah, she's in the United States, actually. She flew out very suddenly, left me a dear John letter.
Right, so it's just the two of us then today.
Yes.
All right, but it's all looking good for today. The auction's going to start any minute.
My little heart's pounding.
Shall we take our places?
Yes.
All auction houses make charges such as commission, so if you're thinking of buying or selling in this way, it's worth checking the small print to avoid any unexpected surprises.
So here we are, Richard. We've cleared a space here in the Garden of Tranquility.
Oh, yeah?
So the auction's already started,
Yes.
and it's quite exciting, isn't it?
It is relatively so, yes.
Can you feel the tension?
Well, yes. Yes.
I do actually think it's very much like going on stage, actually.
Well, no, not really, because I don't have to learn any lines today, so it's a lot easier than that.
It certainly is, but one thing we need to learn, actually, is what we're going to sell today, and the first item is the carved wooden figure of a saint, and it's in between 60 and 100. Okay. Now, remind me again, where did this come from?
I bought a job lot, a big cardboard box full of saints, wooden saints, and that happened to be amongst them. The others weren't as interesting as that, because this one's still got all the paint on it, and I think it's rather interesting.
Well, the auctioneer really likes it, and he, like you, thinks it's Spanish.
Okay.
So it could have this wonderful Spanish connection.
I like his thinking.
I like his thinking too. Let's hope the buyers agree.
I could start here at £60 bid. That's £60. Remember, this is being sold in aid of the Royal Manchester Children's Hospital, so a really good cause. And I'm £60 bid, 70 anywhere. 70, thank you.
There you go.
That's 70. Do I see 80 now? That's £70 at the back of the room, a little bit above estimate at 70. 80 anywhere, it's had its time, selling at £70.
So yes, that's gone for £70.
Cool, that's excellent.
Are you pleased with that?
Yes, I'm very, very pleased with that. It's kind of the ballpark, wasn't it? That's
Yeah,
what we were imagining.
yeah, between 60 and 100, so that's everything. Excellent.
That's a great start, and Richard makes quite an imposing figure in those sunglasses. Let's hope the bidders aren't feeling too daunted by him. We want them all to part with stacks of cash.
OK, so we have a very unusual Mexican cross now, which has the dried flowers,
yes,
and a book of Mexican girls.
It's a calendar, girls. I bought it in Malibu in Los Angeles, and I put the book with it just to jolly the kind of idea of having it up. I've signed the inside of the book, and I've signed the back of the cross. So that gives it a provenance, gives it something a little bit more interest.
Start me, I'm 10 bid, 15, 20, 5 anywhere. At £20, 5, 30, and 5 at 35, 40 anywhere now. Remember, this is a charity lot, all the money's going to charity at £35, 40 anywhere now, at 35, 40 anywhere. It's had its time, selling at 35.
There you go. All right, is that all right with you?
Fine, £5 over.
You were thinking about 40.
You should have mentioned that they were both signed, you see. You should have said that.
Right. OK, we did say they were property of yourself.
Yeah, but you should have said they were both signed, because that would up, you see. That's essential information, isn't it?
OK, so
it's too late now.
Too late.
I kill these people. I take them with my bare hands.
Ooh, I'm not sure Paul's used to dealing with these larger-than-life theatricals. If I'd been there, I'd have been able to hold his hand. Still, 2 reasonable results so far. Let's hope the next sale pleases us too. Is the Art Nouveau style trinket box with a pewter lid. The estimate is £30 to £50.
And I can start here at 10 bid, 15, 20, 5 at £25, 30, 5 anywhere now at £30. Nice little Art Nouveau box at £30, 5 anywhere, 35, 40 at 40, 5 anywhere else, selling then at £40.
There you go, that's good, isn't it?
40 quid, yeah. It's worth £40 for anybody, truth. It's a lovely little box.
That's another good sale, and I think Richard must be quite happy with things so far. I can tell because he hasn't turned into a creature of the night yet.
OK, now, I do remember when we were looking around your house, this is one of Rebecca's favourite items. It's that Dalton Lambeth piece, you know.
Yes.
We said it was a tobacco jar, could be a biscuit barrel, a very large example, wasn't it?
Yes, I was collecting tobacco jars at the time. It was one area where they'd turn up that they wouldn't be costing very much. I kind of like that, you know. I like a bargain.
Start here at £20, 25, 30, 35, 40 at £40.
40 we're in.
5 anywhere else at £40 on commission. Do I see 5 now? At £40, 45, 50 with me. One more at 50, 5 anywhere else. It's had its time against the lady on commission, selling at £50.
£50, there we go.
Cool.
Is that all right with you?
Yes, excellent.
All right. There was no biscuits or tobacco left in there, was there?
No.
No? OK.
Richard did say he likes a bargain, but he draws the line at custard creams. Coming up next is the small pair of Victorian posy vases in the shape of hunting dogs. They used to sit on the shelf in his kitchen. Now we're all hoping they'll sell for between £40 and £60.
And I'm 15 bid, 20, 5, 30 anywhere at £25, 30 anywhere now, 30, 5 anywhere, selling then at £30.
There we go. So £30.
Phew, just.
Is that a relief?
Well, yes, I thought they were going to go for 25 then.
They didn't quite reach their estimate, but Richard seems to be quite pleased anyway. Next for sale is a fantastic brooch by the makers Butler and Wilson.
I knew Butler and Wilson, the two chaps, when they first started out back in the early 70s, and they were finally allowed to open a little stall in Harrods, and they sent this brooch out with the invitation to selected people.
What a nice thing
so
to
they're
do.
very unique, and they're very limited edition. And it's rather, I think it's rather beautiful.
And I can start here at £10, 15, 20, 5 anywhere at £20. It's a rare little thing. At £20, 5, 30, and 5, madam, at £35, 40 anywhere at 35, 40 anywhere now. It's the ladies' bid, and I am selling at £35.
There we go, 35, is that?
35. They got a bargain.
Oh dear, Richard clearly wanted that much-loved and unique piece to have gone for more. We have another one-off next, the jacket Richard bought in a famous Shishi London boutique in the late 1960s.
OK, now I know Rebecca's taken a trip to America.
Yes.
But this jacket is called Granny Takes a Trip. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
So I take it that's the manufacturer, is it?
Granny Takes a Trip was a very important store at the bottom end of the King's Road. It was very hip and very groovy to have clothes from Granny's.
Wow.
And this jacket dates back to that period. And it really is a vintage collector's item. It should be in the V&A.
To give it its best chance, Richard has stuck to his word. He's now available for modelling assignments.
Right, let's see what we can get for it. It's this lovely jacket, lot 252, as modelled by Richard there. Who'll start me at £100 for it? I'll start at 50 then, at £50, 60, 70. Do I see 80 anywhere now?
Start at 50,
£70.
cheapskates.
£70. Do I see 80 anywhere? At £70 then. I thought this would make a lot more. Remember, this is all for a good cause. 80 anywhere. It's had its time then.
Unfortunately, your jacket didn't sell. It didn't realise its potential here today, so the auctioneer has withdrawn it.
Oh, has it?
So you get to keep that.
Oh, I didn't know. I wish Sandra Rhodes had been here. She'd have bought it.
As Paul said, at least Richard can take it home, and who knows, maybe we'll see him wearing it on another day.
I think maybe we'll take it down to the motorbike fair and see if we can sell it down there. Motorcycle enthusiasts do like a little bit of rock and roll.
Well, we'll find out soon, and so we come to the final lot of this particular sale. A real trooper. Richard's going to have another crack at wowing the people of Hazelmere.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is a flat-top, jumbo Epiphone acoustic guitar. I bought it because it was pretty, and this is the guitar. Oh, let's do the time warp again. Oh, let's do the time warp again. Doop, doop, bump, doop, doop, doop.
I bet those bidders never thought they'd be entertained by a rendition of the Time Warp when they set off to the auction today.
Please, dig deep, because it's really to say that you will be, whoever buys this, will be responsible for sending a child back home to the loving embrace of their family. Back to you, sir.
Right, I can start here, bidding at £100 to start. Do I see 120, 120, 140, 160, 180, 200? At £200, sir.
£200.
£200. Remember, this is for a really good cause. At £200. Do I see 220 anywhere now for the signed guitar? At £200. Do I see 220 anywhere? 220. Thank you, sir. At 220. 240. Can I say 260? 260.
260.
And 280. And 300, sir. At £280 then. Well done, you've bid well. At 280. Do I see 300 anywhere? Going to sell, first time, the second time, at £280. Well done, sir.
Wow.
Excellent.
That's great, isn't it? Yeah. Well done. Oh, congratulations, Richard.
That's nice.
Are you pleased with that?
I am, yeah.
Do you know, I think your rendition there really helped.
It does need new strings. I didn't tell them that.
I'm sure whoever bought it won't mind replacing a few strings. In fact, they should be delighted with their purchase. Now then, Paul, it's time to check up on our guests' running total so far.
OK, so, Richard, that's all our items here today. Now bearing in mind, that was the general
it is, isn't it? Yeah,
items.
that's true.
Now, you have one item that's going back with you, which is the Granny Takes a Trip jacket. That, unfortunately, didn't have the audience here today to buy that.
Oh, weird.
All right, so you get to keep that for another day. But I can tell you that all the other items here today have sold for the total of £540.
Oh, that's cool. It didn't seem as much as that in the 30s and 20s and 40s, you know, the dribbles, but it's all mounted up.
It's all mounted up now. That's actually a very reasonable target. And that motorcycle yet to come. So it's been an absolute pleasure. Can you teach me that time walk? I could do with just a few dancing lessons.
I don't think I could.
All right, well, let's get a cup of tea.
Don't worry, Paul, I'll teach you one day. It's all in the heels. Now, we mustn't forget the Victorian painting. The auction house suggested that it should go into their fine art sale, being held a few days later. Their expert, Aubrey, reminded Paul why it's so special.
Well, Victorian oils in general are struggling. They're not the strongest of sellers, but quality generally tends to shine through, and it's all about the detail. When you have a closer look, you start to see these nice little groups of figures, you know, the lovely towels and the spinnerets. It's just a really nice quality picture.
Now, when I originally saw it, I put this in at between 1,000 and 1,500. I mean, does that sound about right?
I think that's a fair estimate to start with. Hopefully it might make a little bit more on the day.
Excellent.
And when the painting finally went under the hammer,
selling at £1,600.
it made a tremendous price, along with the £540 from the general sale. That brings Richard's tally to £2,140. And still, we've got his motorbike to sell. It's time for the specialist auction we've all been waiting for. We're in Oxfordshire to watch as 200 different bikes go under the hammer. Richard's retro-style Honda model from 2002 could be about to make a breathtaking sale here. What have the auction house told you about the bike?
They really like it, actually. The fact that it's there's only a few of these around, it's sort of a limited edition, it belongs to Richard O'Brien. So, yeah, they're quite excited about it. They've done lots of press advertising with it. There's been a bit of interest in it. And it's amongst friends. I mean, it's a great place here. There's nothing but motorcycles today. So we've done the best we can, I think.
OK, well, let's go and see how Richard feels about it selling, shall we?
Yes, of course. Let's see.
Morning, Richard.
Good morning, Richard. Hello.
Have you found another one that you want to buy?
A sunbeam, yes. Jesus wants me for a sunbeam. It looks very nice, my bike on the floor there, doesn't it?
It looks very nice in the catalogue as well, look at that.
Wow, that's impressive.
It does look nice.
Well, it's time to sell it, so shall we?
Yes, let's go.
Come on then.
Right.
But if we're to make Richard's target of £5,000, it'll need to make a good deal more than that. We're keeping everything crossed for a great result here today.
£1,200 for an opening bid. We have 1,200, 1,300, 1,400, 1,500, 1,600, 1,700. The bid at 1,700 against you in the back row at 1,700. Any more? 1,800. There we are at 1,800. 1,900. At 1,900. 2,000 the bid. At 2,000 the bid. 2,200, 2,400, 2,600. Any more? 2,800. Thank you, sir. Most generous. 3,000 the bid. At 3,000. At 3,000. The bid's at £3,000. I'll take 100 if it helps. You will? 3,100. Would you like 100? No, sir? 3,100. The bid so far on my right. At £3,100. You all done? Fair warning. At 3,100. Last call. Your bike, sir. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. 250. Thank you very much.
We just had to take a little break because, as he said in the chat when we met him at his home, this charity is particularly close to his heart, and he's off there as well. Get the tissues. It's not often that we see such enthusiastic bidding, and we're all feeling a little emotional. I'd better make sure Richard's all right.
Once it went past the £2,000, I was absolutely thrilled. When it hit 3, you know, I was over the moon.
Well, would you like to know how much you've raised overall?
Altogether, yes, please.
OK, well, altogether, you wanted £5,000, didn't you?
I was looking in that kind of area, yeah.
5,240.
Ain't that cool?
That's really good.
And, be fair, be honest, you never thought that we were going to do that, did you?
No, I didn't.
No, it did seem quite a lot of money, didn't
Oh,
it?
ye of little faith.
I think it's outstanding, is it?
It's fantastic. And I've been entertaining as well, haven't I?
You've been very
really
entertaining, yes,
glamorous.
absolutely.
I mean,
Yes.
come on, it's
What
a
more could you
win-win-win
want?
situation.
Modest is the key word there. I think.
Modesty, above all.
The Royal Manchester Children's Hospital charity is the beneficiary of Richard's stunning auction earnings.
£5,000 is always welcome. I don't think there's many people who are not aware of how upsetting it is when a loved one or a friend gets a death-threatening illness. And I'm so pleased that we've raised this much money.
This new children's hospital is one of the biggest in the country and helps 150,000 children a year. David Kane is its Director of Charities and is delighted with the support.
Richard's money is really important to us because it's contributing to the cost of our new MRI scanner, which is going to be used for between 12 and 14 patients a day in our hospital.
To be a parent and have a child on a cancer ward is one of the most terrifying things in the world. And one of the greatest things that we can do is provide hope. And if we can go further than that and send children back home, then we're really winning, aren't we?
Now, if you've got some antiques and collectibles that you'd like to sell via auction to raise money for good causes or for a project that you've got in mind, then why not apply to come on Cash in the Attic? You'll find more details and an application form at our website, which is bbc.co.uk. And I'll see you again next time.